Hi again, it's Dr. Reed, and I am coming to you guys from across the pond. Today I'm coming from Liverpool, England, and I'm going to go over Chapter 2 a little bit, so hopefully you all have your book and have read this before you're actually watching this, because it's just a quick review of your chapter. So Chapter 2 is Action at an Emergency, so now you know what an emergency is. Now we're going to look at some things that might happen at an emergency and kind of how you'll go through an emergency. So some of y'all have been in an emergency setting, some of you have not. I personally am at an emergency setting like constantly, like all the time. And I firmly believe that that's because of the training I have, that I'm at the right place because of the training I have. And so accidents happen around me because I have that training to be able to help somebody. So I think I'm put in those situations for a reason. So emergencies, they're urgent. They're going to happen quickly. They're dangerous. They're something you don't plan for most of the time. Now we can plan for a lot of emergencies, but most of the time there's things that just pop up. So as a bystander, there's some different things that kind of happen. The way we respond to emergencies are going to be different based on our own experiences and our own abilities that we have. So, bystanders at emergencies. When you're in public, people are less likely to act in public than healthcare providers. So somebody who has experience with healthcare and with emergencies and stuff like that is more likely to help than somebody who's just a ordinary bystander. So this is why it's so important that everybody be trained in CPR and first aid, so that, can you imagine a place where everybody's trained and that nobody panics and nobody just doesn't know what to do, that they all know how to act in an emergency? That'd be pretty amazing. Some people are put off by injury, some people are put off by blood, some people are put off by just, they don't know what to do. And so you see those bystander reactions. Sometimes they just don't know what to do in an emergency, so they don't act. They don't even call 911. So what should be done? One of the most important things that should be done is you need to recognize that there is an emergency. Sometimes people don't know that an emergency is what's happening. So it's very important that you recognize it first. And then decide to act. Before you act, you need to have thought about that kind of stuff ahead of time. And you guys are all in this class, so hopefully now you won't have to think, you'll just act. And then check call care, very important. Okay, so you need to check the person, call 911, and care for them, whichever kind of care they need. So those are the important things when you are deciding what should be done. Next is seeking medical care. So knowing when to call 911. How do you call 911? Some people have never called 911 before. I have called 911 a couple of times at my place where I used to work with lifeguards a lot of times. And right above our telephone, we would have the location of our swimming pool. So if we had to call 911, we didn't have to memorize our location and that kind of stuff. In the emergency situation, we didn't have to think about that. We could just read it off the wall. So that's very nice to have next to your telephone. And I know that telephones on the wall are going away now. But places of business should have those. And it's really good to post like the important phone numbers and then your address, physical location. So if you have to call 911, when there's an emergency, you could just read it instead of trying to think like, oh, where am I? I'm on the corner of, and then giving landmarks and stuff. So you don't want to do that. Also, when you call 911, make sure you know how many people are injured, maybe types of injuries, maybe some events leading up to the situation and things like that. So just trying to figure out kind of what's going on at the scene so that you can relay that information when EMS does get there. Alright, rescue reaction. Sometimes when, see a double-decker bus? Sometimes when you're helping with a rescue or a emergency situation, there's other rescuers there, there's other bystanders there, and some people, when they respond to emergency, have no reaction at all. In that moment, they are just, they've seen it all, they can help. There's no reaction at all. Sometimes there may be screaming, crying, fainting. Then you've got more than one good person now. You've got somebody else who's fainting and just, yeah. So you have lots of different reactions. You can also experience post-traumatic stress disorder, where you have a lot of stress and dreams and feelings from what you've seen and experienced. So that can happen as well. As you're caring for somebody, before you're caring for somebody, and after you're caring for somebody, you need to make sure you do your best to prevent disease transmission. So you want to pretend that everybody you treat that has any kind of bodily fluids and things like that, just assume that they have some kind of bloodborne pathogen. Could be some kind of disease like AIDS or hepatitis. So you want to treat them with gloves. You want to wash your hands before. You want to wash your hands after. Make sure you're using personal protective equipment, mask, nose, gloves, apron if you need. Just whatever you have available. Even if you're not responding to an emergency, if you work in a fitness center or health club or something like that, and one of your jobs and tasks is to clean machines, okay, or one of your jobs and tasks is to do laundry, you need to have your gloves on, okay? That is gross. That is dirty. You need to protect yourself. And I've worked with multiple gyms before and that kind of thing, and we always had our gloves on when we're cleaning down equipment. And if you're somebody who works out, you need to clean your equipment before you get on it, work out, and then clean your equipment after you get off of it, because it's healthy. That's just, you just need to do that, okay? That's etiquette when you're in the gym. Even though that organization, that company should be cleaning their equipment, they might not always do it correctly. So you want to clean your equipment before, and then you work out, and then you clean your equipment after. So always personal protective equipment. Assume that fluid, whatever you're coming in contact with, has some kind of disease. So take whatever precautions you need. Sometimes in an emergency setting, death and dying does happen. Try not to give them any false hope. Be honest, but not too revealing. Okay, you don't want to say, "Hey, this," you don't want to be grim about it, but be honest. Okay, give as much comfort as you can. Reassure that person. Be truthful with them. Maybe this is the last chance for you to minister to them. Okay, the grief process and reactions. If you've had a psychology class or another health class or anything like that, then you've probably gone over the stages of grief and death and dying, and the stages of grief that people go through in the grieving process. But a lot of times you'll see those same stages of denial, then anger, then bargaining. Okay, if only this will happen, then maybe I won't die soon. If only this, you're starting to reason and bargain. And then depression, and then finally you have acceptance. Now, people go through these stages. Some people jump around in these stages. Some people are in one stage for a short period and then one stage for a very long period, whereas others could be in that same stage for long and then short period. So we're all individual. Just know those stages and that they happen. Okay, they have a natural progression. So that's chapter 2. Remember to read your book. Remember to take your quiz, and I'll see y'all soon.